Kung Fu Granny has got crims on the run. Hey, that's the Daily Star. Oh, this was the Daily Mail. They were running a story about finding knives in parks. This is the photograph this year of us retaining the green flag. I moved to Southchurch Hall Gardens, Southchurch Hall, about 10 years ago when I retired. My house backs onto the Southchurch Hall Gardens, which was one of the reasons that I bought the house here. Apart from it being near the seafront and easy access to London, it was the gardens that actually caught my eye. But over the years, it started to deteriorate as the council had to have cutbacks because of less money coming in, until eventually it became a no-go area. Just here, we would often find handbags that had been stolen, phones that had been stolen, knives. This was more overgrown than this. Here was where the street drinkers used to spend all day. Sometimes they'd be sitting all the way up these steps here as well. This used to be all bush along here, so they would hide behind here to sell their drugs. This area here is where the prostitutes used to operate from. They would actually be working during the day in this corner of the park. As residents, we weren't happy about this for obvious reasons, so I started knocking on people's doors, introducing myself because I didn't know them, asking them to come on board with me to tackle the issue. And one of our local community officers mentioned to me about the restorative justice and the work they'd done.
It was really clear when we met Patricia how frustrated she felt about how people were using the gardens. She obviously was really passionate about the work that she and SHIP were doing over there to try and make it a really nice space for the community, and it was just being ruined by people not respecting it. And you could tell that she was pretty heartbroken really about, you know, how it was being treated, and how the vision that they had for it just wasn't being realised because people were behaving in a way that sort of didn't fit with how SHIP and Patricia particularly felt that it should be being used. And especially, I think, because the behaviour of the people that were using it was causing other people to not want to be anywhere near it. And that for her, I think, was really difficult to deal with.
This is our first litter pick, and this was some of the stuff we were picking up under the benches, in the water. This was bags. We had 9 bags, all looking a bit like that. Used condoms, knives, used needles.
When the council called us and asked us if we would go in and try something different to try and resolve some of the issues that were really evident between the people that were using the park and Patricia and her team and her residents, we really wanted to do something to try and get that back for her, to allow her and all the other people that are involved in it to feel proud of that space and to really love it again. The way that we thought was the best way to address the issues that had been raised was with a restorative process. And what that means is that everybody who's involved in an incident or a situation or some kind of conflict, everybody's voice is just as important as everybody else's. So that meant engaging the people that were behaving in the way that, you know, wasn't really acceptable by the local community. So we'd engaged everybody else, Patricia and the professionals. So our next challenge really was to get the people who were using the park to drink in every day to try and engage with this process and to have their voice in the mix as to how we could, resolve it and move forward for everybody. So Janet and I decided that we would just go down there and have a chat with these people and see what they thought. So that's what we did. We went and visited the park. We walked down to the benches that we knew that they were often sitting at, and we just sat and talked to them, and we asked them, why they chose that spot, what it was that they really loved about the gardens, why they wanted to be there every day. And they told us about how, what a lovely setting it was in, how they didn't really have anywhere else to go. And we talked through about the impact on the local community. We asked them how they thought that people that used the park felt about them being there. We talked about some of the intimidation that people were feeling and why their behaviour made people feel like that. And they were quite surprised that that's how people felt. That wasn't ever their intention, was to make other people feel unwelcome. They just felt like they had as much right to use the park as other people, and they were quite upset really that was the impact that their behaviour was having. So we decided that we'd hold a community meeting, and we invited everybody that had been involved in the process. We wanted to use the hall as the venue because it was a building that was close to the heart of everyone that was part of this process. We had 19 people attend, and that included some of the people who'd been responsible for the antisocial behaviour, which was a really lovely surprise for us. The meeting concentrated on what everybody loved about the park, what they would like to change and how they could take those changes forward.
Really pleased Emma and the team sit within the Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner's office. We work on a number of programmes of work around criminal justice, and Emma and the team provide an invaluable service in helping people understand the consequence of their actions for victims and the impacts that they are actually having on others. The gardens are a prime example of where Emma and the team have worked really hard within a community setting, not with individuals but within a community setting, to almost reclaim what was an area where people were frightened to go because of what was actually happening there around people drinking, another of really unpalatable things that you wouldn't want to take your children to a park necessarily and see. So Emma worked really hard with the local residents that overlook the gardens, and particularly Patricia, who's an amazing woman and has done some amazing things in her local area, and sought to reclaim the gardens in a way that was helpful and practical and sustainable. So they were the catalyst to actually bringing groups together. So the people that were using the park antisocially and the local residents, and help them have a conversation about consequence and impact. And we're really, really proud of Emma and her team here. I mean, I think the Gardens is a prime example of what the activity of that team can really do to make a real impact and difference in the community. And I was so delighted to be invited to the unveiling of a remembrance statue in the Gardens recently. And it was really buzzing with the local community, and the community were just really excited to be there and so grateful for the intervention that Emma and the team had actually made. The Gardens is now a place for the local community to go and enjoy, which is always what it should have been. And as I say, we're just really proud that Emma and the team have helped that local community claim back what is a really important part of their local community.
It kind of blew me away, to be honest with you, the fact that the police were prepared to work with us and the council were prepared to work with us as opposed to against us. And I think we've proved what you can achieve by doing that. I think we've got proof of it. The schools are back, they bring the children, talk about the wildlife. We do things, we talk about the litter and the impact it has on the wildlife with children. It's so pleasing to see that this is now a family historical park. It's just amazing. And I think the fact that we've inspired other people to do the same, that's a big thing for me, to inspire people to do the same. So this little acorn has not only turned into an oak tree, but it's got big branches as well.